Hello, today I'm going to be talking about Functional Communication Training, or FCT for short. The reason I'm talking about this is because it is kind of like the foundation of a lot of the communication systems that we use with our clients. The other upside is that it's also pretty simple to use, so that means that it's easy to teach to parents, direct care staff, paraprofessionals. Basically what FCT does is it takes an individual who may have a challenging behavior that they have learned and then has been maintained through reinforcement, and then you replace that behavior with some functional communication that serves the same function of that behavior. So that's really important, because if it doesn't serve the same function, then they're not going to be getting reinforced in the same way, and thus the challenging behavior will not decrease over time. Basically, FCT can be broken down into like 3 different steps. So the first step would be identifying what the appropriate communication would be for that individual. So you can take someone who's verbal, someone who's not verbal, and you determine what communication are they already using. Do they gesture? Do they use one word for request? Do they use multi-words? Do they use full sentences? And then you would choose what the appropriate amount of communication would be. So the second thing would be to identify what that person wants. So that can be as easy as watching where their eye gaze goes to, or if they're trying to reach for an item. It's going to be different based on different situations, but you'll just have to figure that out. And so once you've identified what they want and what communication they should be using to get access to it, then you're going to require them to use that communication before they can gain access. And it's pretty much that simple. As long as it serves the same function, the challenging behavior should decrease over time and communication should increase, and then you can also change the amount of communication that's required. So an individual who used to use 1 word to request for something, you might require them to use 3 words, so on and so forth. And so you're shaping their language over time so that they're just using more communication. So for an example of FCT, I decided to talk about something I actually used with one of my clients. And for this example, I do have some materials that I use. So these are simple like sentence strips, and they're probably backwards in the video, but this is an I want. We also have all done and a break icon. So basically what I would do with this is I would take an individual who, if they were trying to give a real life example, I have a client who will try to take his mom's phone. So he's a large client, he's about 180 pounds. When he wants something, he will grab it and he will just take it. If he doesn't get access to it, sometimes that can lead to aggression. So what we've been doing with him is I will have his mom sitting at the table and she will pull his phone out, or her phone. I usually stand in between her and him so that he can't actually get to her, and usually just my presence there is a prompt for him to use his language. As long as he uses his language, which is just very simple, it's 3 sentence, I want phone, phone please, anything along those lines. As long as he does that, he gains access to the phone. If he tries to grab it, I will block him so that he cannot get access to it. If he really needs a prompt, I'll show him his I want card, and that usually gives him enough to realize that he needs to use his language or he's not going to get access. The thing with prompting with FCT is you also have to determine, you want to look at your prompt hierarchy. And so if you're just starting with a client, you're probably going to want to model a lot of the language that you want them to use. So saying, I want phone, basically prompting them to use that language. As you go on, you're going to want to fade your prompts out, so you won't be modeling. You might be only giving them the beginning, saying, I want, or you might just say, I even, and then you go down to the visual prompts, which is once again this cue card. And then even further than that, a lot of the time with him, I just won't prompt him at all. I will just block him, and he usually realizes, okay, I have to use my language in this situation. So that's kind of a basic overview of FCT. Like I said, it's pretty simple to implement. I use it fairly often in my sessions, just because I always want my clients to be using the appropriate amount of communication and never going back to those problem behaviors that can be just very difficult to deal with. All right, thanks for listening.